Blog Talk Radio.
Dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We have attitude. We rooting, and we go into that fight to lay it on the line.
Dope Radio Podcast. I am your host, Chris Carlson. We are live on a Wednesday night. Hope everybody's doing okay. Life's kind of getting in the way for these Tuesday night shows, but we'll see where it takes us. We may start to do them, or we're probably going to start to do them Monday night for a couple of weeks, see what goes on. Anyway, we are back and better than before. Okay, maybe that's just nonsense. But either way, we're coming off another busy weekend. And, this trend has happened sometimes, I don't know what, since October or something. And we really have been on a nice run. It's just great to do a show where, you could talk about all this recap, and there's a lot of detail to it. What's next for both fighters, winners and losers, really, because Isaac Cruz definitely made a name for himself this weekend. So we'll definitely recap Devin Haney, outboxing Jojo Diaz coming into the fight. That seemed to be the closer matchup on paper. According to Eddie Hearn, it was the bigger fight, which, obviously that was silly to say. But he's a promoter. What's he going to do? But either way, Haney looked very good in most of the fight. The left hooks that he's, I'm not going to say he's a sucker for left hooks, but he does get hit repeatedly in the same maybe 30 seconds, which you wonder at the elite level what that means. But either way, he looked damn good doing it. And whether he was a little buzzed or hurt or whatever, he says he wasn't hurt like the Linares fight. Didn't look like he was that hurt like that. But he handled it better this time. Got to give him credit there. And then, Jervante Davis, like I said, Isaac Cruz. On paper, that seemed to be, most people thought it was a mismatch going in. Or a lot of people did. Much of Cruz. I mean, even I saw multiple people saying, I've never seen this guy fight. In fact, I think, was it Caleb Truax? I think he tweeted. Somebody tweeted saying, I've never seen this guy. I had to go back and check him out. Not that he's been, on Fox Fights or something like that, They haven't, he hasn't been promoted just crazy or something like that, but we've definitely seen him. And he's a solid fighter. I mean, he was bottom half of the top 10. I think a lot of people would move him up after this performance. So it was a very competitive fight, And so we'll get into recap, obviously, and then talk about kind of 2022 lightweight stuff. If Lomachenko, speaking of Lomachenko, he's got a fight coming up against Richard Comey on ESPN after the Heisman Trophy winner. So it should get a really nice rating. Will Devin Haney fight Gambosus in Australia, if in fact it comes? Will Jervante? Will Isaac Cruz? No, I mean, or will Gambosus, get called a mandatory? The WBA, the WBO, the WBC. There's definitely a potential for that, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Jervante did drop his trinket WBA at 140, so that's gone now. So that's good for the WBA. WBA, but they got 2 titles at 135. They had 3 titles at the WBC did at 135. If you count the franchise, Devin Haney, and going into it with the in-troop strap with JoJo Diaz. So will they call it? And like I said, the WBO, I don't know. But we'll definitely talk about that. What's next realistically? You know, I've said for quite some time, I think the first fight that we thought we were actually going to get in the summer was Jervante Davis and Ryan Garcia, as far as those two facing off against the likes of Gambosus and now Isaac Cruz and Devin Haney. You still can't forget Teofimo, and well, I guess you can't forget Comey if he beat Lomachenko or something like that, but then Lomachenko. And so either way, this lightweight lightning, wasn't that a pay-per-view card? I think Golden Boy did it, lightweight lightning. They had 4 lightweight fights, I believe. Anyway, it's been fun. It's been fun, and we're now seeing that there's actually a little bit more depth than we thought even 6 months to a year ago. And really, not even, we could say 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? Because Gambosus and Cruz, a lot of people underestimated that fight. So, like I said, we'll look forward to this weekend as well. Nonito Donaire returns against Caballo. So we'll talk a little bit about the undercard. There's not really can't miss undercard fights per se driven, but we'll talk a little bit about that. And then, well, first of all, happy birthday. Age 90 now, Bob Arum. Wow. I've said it for the last 10 years. If I could have the energy, if I could even have 70 or 80% of the energy this guy has at that age, whew, man, there's plenty to say about Arum as a promoter of late. But age 90, dude, wow. Happy birthday, Bob. I want to see him live to 120. But yeah, we definitely will talk like Ugas, the WBA, Stanonius, Ugas. Unfortunately, not for Stanonius, but unfortunately it sounds like that. Well, it's not going to go to purse bid, but that fight's going to happen. So what's that mean for Spence? Will he, in fact, just go right to the Crawford fight? I highly doubt it, but you never know. You never know. I mean, he was going to go right to the Ugas fight, so we'll see. And then, there's other fight news out there. And, of course, we'll have our boxing Twitter segment, where we read the tweets of the week. We also kind of discuss some fanboy stuff, right? And media members, of course, behaving as fanboys, too. We can't forget about those media members that, routinely rip fanboys, but then sit there and tweet like a fanboy. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, but yeah, there is some other fight news out there. Teofimo Lopez, his doctor, physician, whatever, said some pretty troubling stuff that we'll talk about as well. I don't know. I've talked to a couple of people about having air in your chest that's not supposed to be there. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I'm not gonna go into detail too much because I don't know. I mean, the doctor makes it sound like he would have been dead if he got hit in the right spot. He shouldn't have been up there, but I don't know how much of a breathing problem was he having. I don't know. It's tough to say. He didn't look gassed like right away, but he didn't look his best. That's for sure. A lot of it had to do with strategy as well. But so yeah, we're gonna get into that. Like I said, preview the weekend and whatnot. If this is your first time listening to the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast, welcome. It streams live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. You don't have to go to Blog Talk and Rope-A-Dope and download the show directly there or listen to the browser if you don't want to. You can find the platform on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Player FM, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker, almost across the board. We're also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network. While you're at it, why don't you head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. And one more thing. If you're thinking about cutting the cord, or you're not quite happy, I got something for you you may like. It's called Direct TV Stream, the prices start as low as $69.99 a month. It's the best of live TV and on-demand, no annual contracts, no hidden fees. If you upgrade to the Choice or Ultimate package, that gives you 3 free months of HBO Max, plus you get to enjoy regional sports networks without an additional fee, which is becoming an issue on cable platforms, as you know, sports fans. And then if you go all the way up, boxing fans, listen to this. If you go all the way to the Premier package, you get HBO and Showtime included in there. And Showtime's only $11 on the form as it is. That's DirecTV Stream. Okay. Now, you know, we're going to start with Jervante and Isak because, or Isak. Did I just say Isak? Isak? Shots out to him, first and foremost, because, you know, there's plenty of fighters, once they get their opportunity, I'm not going to say just showing up for the check. We've seen it, whether it's someone that just kind of like, hey, I'll take it. I don't care. I'll come off my couch and take it. Or maybe an older fighter, right? One last fight. But he took advantage of his opportunity. And like Jervante said after it, I thought that was pretty cool. He said, a star is born here. And I saw some clips at the Laker game, people stopping him, multiple people stopping him and getting, you know, a picture with him, shaking his hand. And that's how you do it. You come in as a B-side, not that he left as the A-side, but his profile is much higher than it was, especially a packed Staples Center like that. And in that area, L.A., right? So he can now be seen as the A-side against some of these fighters at lightweight, which keeps getting deeper and deeper. So shout out to him. Shout out to both these guys. First of all, both these dudes have solid chins. I did kind of feel like we were going to be able to see what kind of chin Jervante had in Cruz to an extent, right? I thought we kind of gear up for it. Like, okay, which one is going to have the best chin? Because both of them were going to get hit in this one. And, of course, you get hit in every fight, but, like, really hit. You know what I mean? And I got to say, both of the chins definitely held up. I mean, you know, Isak looked like he was kind of breathing a little heavy at times, but it didn't stop him from – he didn't have, like, 3 or 4 rounds where he wasn't doing anything, you know what I mean? And Jervante kind of mixed up boxing on the move, those, you know, right hooks and left uppercuts. You did kind of notice he was going away from the left hand. You did, you know, I saw plenty of people kind of looking at Twitter or, you know, commenting like, what's up with that hand? And then we did find out he did hurt it, but he said there's no excuse and whatnot. You know, maybe he'd get the knockout, maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. But Cruz, man, this guy is tough as nails. And right off the bat, I gave him the first round. He came out, you know, with pressure. And it's funny because I saw a lot of people saying, dude, if so-and-so puts on this type of pressure, dude, he'll get knocked out. Jervante's getting knocked out. It's like, okay, but at lightweight, who puts on the pressure like Cruz, though? Does Ryan Garcia come forward at you? Sure, he does. Does he apply this pressure and get all the way inside pause, you know, to the chest and stuff like that and do these looping shots? It's a different type of pressure. The only guy at the top levels that pressures kind of like this, I'd say, is maybe Jervante, but he's much more calculated, even coming forward, you know. So Jojo Diaz, if he came forward like that, okay, but he doesn't have a lot of power at 135. Cruz, I think, is a bigger puncher than him, probably. I'm not trying to make out Cruz to be some kind of killer puncher, but he's got more than pop, in my opinion. Is Haney gonna walk down? Is Loma and Haney? Is that he's just gonna walk down Davis? Is that at the top levels? Do they do that? Teofimo Lopez, can he walk people down? Sure. But that's not his style per se right off the bat. You saw him try to walk down Gambosus, that didn't go too well for him. So I think Cruz at the high levels is probably the best pressure fighter in the bunch as far as just coming at you, getting in your chest, landing these looping shots. So it is kind of funny, you know what I mean? And we did say last week that we would see a different game plan in a different, you know, how A, B, C, the game plans, right? And Tank did show his ability to move, defend somewhat. Both of them actually defended pretty well. Both of them had this kind of underrated head movement and the ability to block shots. I'd say the head movement was more Jervante. He blocked some shots, but it was more head movement and foot. Whereas, although Cruz had good head movement and upper body movement, to me it was, blocking shots. He did a really good job at that. But anyway, Cruz is his own, Pitbull. That's his nickname. That's him right there. So he did kind of early on, he brought that pressure. He was going to the body. He was landing the left hook, and he was kind of leaping with his shots late, but they were still compact. I think they were a little bit more compact than they had been in the past. So I gave him the first round. I gave Davis rounds 2 and 3. He started to, pivot off that uppercut counter and started to land the straight left hands as well. Cruz landed some good body shots and whatnot, but not enough. Then Davis kind of added the jab to go along with the left uppercut and right hook. Well, then he actually started throwing the right hook. And you could start to see his footwork coming into play as well. Now, I did think Cruz took back the round, though, in the fourth. And that's where I thought that was one of his best rounds when it came to blocking some shots. That early pressure that he brought on, hooks to the head and body. Tank closed well with some good shots, but some hard shots. But I do think the fourth round went to Cruz. Fifth and sixth, especially the sixth, I thought was really competitive. But I kind of thought Davis went into the pot shot and move mode, and I think some of that, like the flush shots late, I think the speed shots and also the flush pot shots, I did think he won that round, but it was close. It was very close. In the sixth round, Cruz was landing some really nice short right hands. And there was some back and forth, no doubt, but I think the cleaner shots with defense, kind of the stick and move, I did favor Davis there. The seventh round, the seventh and eighth were competitive, very competitive rounds. I did think, though, that Davis, kind of in and out with those hooks and straight lefts and right hands. I thought he won the round. I did give Cruz the eighth. I thought he kind of stole it late, kind of mid-late. I think he landed the better shots. The ninth round, another competitive round. That's where I kind of saw Cruz breathing a little heavy. Now, I'm not going to say – it didn't seem like either of these guys – I think both of them kind of got stood up at times, maybe a lightly buzzed. There was a moment there, the crowd it came alive on that, standing up and all that. It seemed like the ninth round Cruz was starting to slow down a little bit, and there was multiple heavy shots by Davis, so I did give him that round. And then what else we got here? The Davis, I gave him the 10th, although Cruz got off to a good start, and he had a nice push late. I thought that right hook landed just bigger and better. I thought overall Davis won the round. Gave Cruz a competitive 11th round, gave Cruz that one. And then, once again, a competitive people thought the 12th round was competitive anyway. I thought the 11th round was more competitive than 12th. I thought, did he throw his left hand? I'm not sure if he threw his left hand, maybe once or twice in that 12th round. Like I said, the last part of the fight, you could kind of tell that his hand was hurt. But the defense, the jabs, the right hooks. I mean, he used his hand, just one hand for that whole. I mean, if he would have fought most of the fight exactly like that round, he would have dominated the fight. Of course, that was just one round. He had some more rounds like that, did Jervante, but maybe they would have caught up to that too if he only did that. You know what I mean? He was saying, what would he say, the 6th round, 7th round, something like that, that he kind of re-injured it. He had injured it in camp. He did say punching down at him kind of affected it. And I could see that. But he also said in the presser that, he's not here to make excuses. I don't want it to be about that. And like I said, I don't know. I mean, the left hook and the left uppercut, he didn't get a chance to land the left uppercut that many times. Or I'm sorry, the left hook. He definitely was landing that left uppercut, but the right hook was more in play. There was a lot of good exchanges. And like I said, both of them showed some defense in this type of fight. Cruz landed 121. And it was 121, and then and he threw 553 at 22% landing, and Davis landed 133 through 462 and landed 29%. The scorecards read two of them 7-5, 115, 113, and 1-8-4, 116, 112. So the two winning cards, so to speak, if you get two cards in your favor, you're going to win the fight, right? But the fact that the two winning cards were 7-5, I was very happy. I guess I could see an 8-4, but I scored it 7-5 or 7-4-1. So I'd be willing to go to 8-4, but I'd also, I could see the people that had it a draw. I could see that. I didn't, but I haven't watched the fight again, so maybe I did. Maybe I would. One thing I'll say, though, I didn't give 7 rounds. Like Mannix and Mora, we get it. You work for the zone, dude. We get it. But they're at a bar someplace, I think, and they're basically saying the max I could do was a draw. Otherwise, I had Cruz winning. That's what Mannix said. I had Cruz winning, but I could only do a draw. I couldn't see any way Jervante would win. And then Mora even said at no point was he winning this fight. And I thought, are you sure? So you're saying through 7 rounds. Well, either way, I thought it was just kind of funny. I mean, just because he was coming forward, that's it. So it's just coming forward. Like, he landed good shots. Should have had it 7-5. But I didn't see the 7 or 8 rounds just because of the pressure. I couldn't see 7 rounds for Diaz. A draw, sure. I could go with that. But 7-5, 7-4-1 is my scorecard. And like I said, just a really fun fight. And it just, when you're a popular fighter, you're going to get more haters, right, than your average fighter. Unless you're going to play the villain. I guess, some guys just are trying to be the villain no matter what. But then again, they get a little hardcore following too. Look at Rolly. But it's 3 fights in a row now where the opponent has been looked at like it's shitty. Like it's not that good. And, I can understand if you don't want to pay pay-per-view for a top 10 versus top 10 fight, like only the number 1 and number 2 in a division, or only, I don't know. I mean, like, how low can you rank Isaac Cruz now? Like, do you still have him at 10? Some people didn't have him at 10. I think one of the ranking systems, did someone not have him at 10? I can't remember. But I just think it's funny. Like I said, you're going to get more haters when you're popular, but when you're also an Al Haymon fighter, and I'm not talking just fans, but this kind of plays into it, but we're talking about certain media members per normal, right, per usual. But, I mean, think about it. This fight was a good-ass fight. A lot of people dumped on this fight like Cruz was a bum or something like that. Last fight, Barrios. I mean, many people on my timeline had Barrios up when he got knocked out on Tank. So therefore, if you had him up or even a competitive close fight, these aren't shitty fights. They aren't. Now, is it a few weeks ago, Teofimo, against Tank or Devin Haney? No, it's not. It's not. But the only big fight that's been put together as far as on paper going in, because obviously Gambosus and Isaac Cruz, both very underrated coming in. I think I rated Isaac Cruz higher than I did Gambosus, and a lot of that is because I saw him fight like two razor-close fights against guys that aren't on the level of Teofimo and some of these other guys. But when it's a competitive fight and you could argue that it was a draw, and some people thought he won, then your complaint level is funny. Because it's like, well, which one is it? Is it a shit fight, or did you have him losing? Which one is it? Like I said, a lot of people had Barrios up before Tank knocked him out. And then you go back to Leo Santa Cruz, and I said it all along that 130, seeing him at 130 in that one fight, it seemed like he would probably need another fight or two to adapt to that weight. But he may just not be as good at 130 as he was at 126. We said that going in. But when you see it, and that's why some of these fights you have to wait to the ring. Time and time again, we talk about boxing Twitter and all the professional matchmakers. Well, 99.9% of these matchmakers, quote unquote, on Twitter are not professional matchmakers. I'm included in that. We don't make any parts of our living off matchmaking. So at some point, you got to either admit you're wrong or not judge it fully. And I think a lot of these PBC fights, the judgment is on paper, and then it kind of stays that way. And if it's a good competitive fight, then the A-side PBC guy, well, he's not that good. That's basically what it turns into. But Leo Santa Cruz did very, very, very good in that fight. So, meanwhile, they're brushing up, at 130, 135, 140. He went out there and fought solid opposition. No, it's not. It's not Lomachenko. It's not that. I do want to see these guys square off. But like I said, the only big fight going into it was Lomachenko and Teofimo at this weight class, right? Either, Haney not able to get that fight because obviously that was right. He was going to be the mandatory. And then they, but sometimes a mandatory can unify, and that's what he did. So he went and fought a different fighter. He went and fought Teo and lost. So, let's see what happens in 2022. And I do think that people forget, like I mentioned earlier, dude, that Ryan Garcia fight. We thought it was almost a done deal. I mean, Garcia's saying he's going to knock him out in, 3 rounds or whatever he was saying? He's on the Mike Tyson podcast. They called Jervante up and talked about it. Now, I get why an exhibition for bigger money against Manny Pacquiao would distract you. You know what I mean? I get that. I do get that. But this whole, you're ducking, you're hiding from them. It is funny how fighters that have been on the shelf, the second something happens like this, I'll go there. I'll go to Australia, or I'll go, I'll fight Jervante now. So, and obviously he had a fight scheduled, and he got hurt. It was Manny, then mental health, and I'm not poking fun. I'm just saying it was the Manny, then mental health, right? And then he got hurt because he was obviously, and that's why it was really cool to see Diaz and Haney get together like that. But, where did you rank Diaz? Did you rank him top 5? I didn't rank him top 5. I think some rankings had him 6 or 7 now. But did he deserve to be in top 10? Sure, okay. I mean, but he didn't be the top guy at the weight yet. So, I don't know. I just think it's funny how this narrative just keeps going. I don't know. And don't get me wrong. I think, a lot of these guys, including Jervante, they're either way overrated or they're pretty underrated. It matters who you talk to and what time, different accounts on your timeline and stuff like that. I think with a lot of these guys, it's somewhere in between. But we have to see them fight to figure it out. And if these two fights in a row, didn't, clear that up, that we do need to see these. You can have your opinion on who you think's the best. I'm sure when Lomachenko wins this week, he'll be the best lightweight, right? But you do got to decide in the ring. So, I'm assuming that, it'll be, it's early December. Shit, in like a month, it'll be, obviously January, but that'll be a full year since Ryan Garcia's out of the ring. So are they going to want to bring Ryan Garcia back, test his hand, get a fight in, and then fight in the summer or something like that? I don't know, but they should really – of course, they're going to – both sides are going to at least look at the Gambosus situation, right? Obviously. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to go on there. It's going to be interesting to see. Gambosus claims he can, just fill up a 80,000 seat stadium. What was Horn? Was that like a 50 or 60,000 Pacquiao Horn in Australia? I can't remember. I thought this to myself, and I noticed someone on a podcast, someone on a YouTube channel, other people on Boxing Twitter were talking about it too. It's like, if there's such huge money in Australia, because there was for that Horn fight, pretty big money for Pacquiao, and they used it through the tourism thing from your government, right? So why didn't anyone from Australia bid on the Teofimo? They could have gotten the fight on the Teofimo fight, with George Gambosus. It seems like there was some contact with Triller and Gambosus and Lopez, allegedly, knowing they're going to put a big bid on it. So maybe the powers that be were like, let's let them do it here. But we'll see, And another thing, like I mentioned, being that he has all the belts, Gambosus, the WBA, the WBO, the WBC, all are going to have mandatories here soon. Somewhat, you'd assume. You got Bob Arum talking about if Lomachenko wins this weekend, that he's confident the WBO will call it. Well, the WBA seems to be calling certain fights and letting others kind of slide. Look what they did to Ugas, but then look at Murata, Look at Arislani Lara. Like, he just screwed in it too. So, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen. Like, so shouldn't you do something with Tank at 135 since, you're calling Ugas, who just beat Pacquiao, he's got to face two fighters. So what does Gambosus have to do? You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens. The reason why I'm talking about the purse bid is because we know, generally speaking, there's a cut on that purse bid, whether it's 70-30, whether it's 55-45, whatever. So that plays into it. That does play into it. And I don't know. We'll see who calls first. But, yeah, I wonder how much money they're willing to put up there. Because Bob said, we're definitely willing to bring Lomachenko over there. And clearly Eddie Hearn and Devin Haney are ready to go. Stephen Espinoza and Leonard Ellaby and that side of Jervante, they seem to be like, if the money's there, sure, but is the money there? We got to see the money, because otherwise we can offer him a lot of money too. And who knows? Maybe he'll just fight a decent fight. Maybe the Australian Tourism Department will get behind him fully, Now, bringing Manny over compared to bringing Haney over, that's not as big as a spectacle as far as payment money. But then again, you don't need as much, right? You don't need to pay Lomachenko whatever it was, $10 million or whatever, So we'll see. But I do kind of think that Haney and possibly Lomachenko have the best shots at landing that fight. And I also think Ryan Garcia, well, I guess you could throw Ryan Garcia in the pot too, but Ryan Garcia and Tank should fight next because that is obviously the biggest fight as far as being able to sell an arena, sell a pay-per-view, hype the fight. That's a big fight. I'm not saying it's doing 1 million buys or anything like that, but it's a big fight. So that's the money fight. I've always thought that those two would fight first. Because they've talked about Haney. They've talked about Tiafimo. They've talked about somebody in the future because they're also young. Well, Tank now is 27. So you could say he's in his prime, but you can't say he's young. And pretty soon these guys are going to be 25, 26 before you know it. So that's why I think it's very important for Jervante and Ryan Garcia to fight next summer or whatever. I really think that they should get in the ring and get it in. And then, as far as the other stuff too, as far as the other matchups I'm speaking of, I think that hopefully we get one or two. Hopefully we get two of these big fights, if not three of them, but two big fights next year in that division, and then maybe some other solid stuff too. Now, as far as the undercard, before we get to the Devin Haney stuff, the Fundora and Garcia fight, although I appreciated the competitiveness, because it was competitive, so that was cool. But as far as going in, it just wasn't as action-packed as I thought it would be. I don't think that's really going out on a limb on that one. You know what I mean? I don't think that's going out too far on that one. I thought it was a good fight. Don't get me wrong. It was a good fight, but it just didn't quite live all the way up to it, in my mind. You know what I mean? In my mind. And for some reason, my scorecard, where is my scorecard? Oops. How did I score it? Because I'm pretty sure I had it, well, obviously, pretty damn close. It was a competitive fight. You can make an argument, I think, potentially for both these guys. I really do think that. Yeah, I don't know where that went. Weird. Okay. Whatever. Yeah, I'm not sure where I got like half of it. Weird. I actually did score it. Oh, forget it. I was looking at it wrong. I scored it for Fundora 7-5 or 6-5-1, but I'd be content with the draw as well, because it was competitive. There's no doubt about it. I thought Fundora got off to a decent start in the first round, winning the first maybe. I thought he did good in the first 3 rounds or something like that. It's kind of funny how this fight turned out, because Fundora, for all the exciting fights he's been in, a lot of the criticism, for obvious reason, is like, dude, use your height, man. You're 7'9" and you're 150. No, he's not 7'9", but he's a long dude. He's got an 80-inch reach or whatever. That's freaking nuts for a 154-pounder. I mean, there's heavyweights that don't have an 80-inch reach. So it's funny. He actually used his outside skill in this one, and he turned Sergio Garcia into a guy that had to get on the inside and try to rough him up. And that's not necessarily his game either. So I thought it was smart, but in the same breath, he was getting a lot of criticism. Some of these folks were kind of talking out of the side of their mouth, though, because it's like, well, hold on, dude. Weren't you the one saying that he should use his height? Well, he did that in this fight. But, yeah, it considering the anticipation going in, it definitely didn't live up to it as far as action. Good fight. No doubt about that. But it just, I don't know. But you can see Garcia right off the bat was aggressive. I think a late uppercut and a couple nice left hands, straight left hands from Fundora won that. The second round, super close. Second and third round were very competitive. Shit, a lot of these rounds were, right? He started landing it. Well, both of them were landing uppercuts, now that I think about it. It's one of those, the second round kind of felt like Garcia was busier, but maybe the better shots were coming with Fundora, and that's like the oldest argument in the book. Which one counts more? If a guy's way busier, then maybe you can give him that. But if a guy lands a better shot, but he only lands 2-3 punches in the round, it's a little different, kind of funky. But you started to see Garcia make some progress. And third round, by the fourth round, I think Garcia got cut there. It actually looked like Fundora was cut, but he was actually, they were just kind of once in a while clashing heads, so some of the blood got on him, but it looked like he was bleeding out of his nose and his eye, but it was actually Garcia. But neither cut was like horrible, or his cut wasn't horrible, so it really helped. But he started to get inside and land hooks and just outwork him and land uppercuts. Nice right hand, like 3 or 4 really nice right hands by Garcia. And even though those uppercuts by Fundora and all that, to me, I thought Garcia made a decent little run here. Definitely the fourth, definitely the fifth. Really good inside work, and he'd wing these overhand rights. So let's say after the sixth round was close, too. I'm telling you, there's a lot of close rounds here. You could have it 3-3 at the break. After the sixth round, maybe 4-2 Fundora. I don't know. The left uppercut, though, in the sixth round, some better shots. I actually thought Fundora won that round. But Garcia, once again, the seventh and eighth, very, very competitive. I thought he was a little bit more effective, Fundora, in the seventh. But the eighth and the ninth I gave to Sergio Garcia for sure. He seemed a little bit more strategic, and he was doing a little bit more in and out, and he was working behind the jab too. I thought that was a key. So I gave him that nice little spurt. Like I said, maybe he won the seventh. Maybe he won the seventh, eighth, and ninth. I definitely gave him the eighth and ninth, though. And then I thought Fundora closed a little stronger, and that's why I had him win it. The jab in the right hand, or the jab and the check hook. He was kind of, as I said, Garcia was kind of in and out. He was starting to get back to his own self where he'd come forward more. And I thought, like, the last round, he was just getting the better of the exchanges, better shots. Big exchange late because right hooks. I had him winning 7-5, like I said, 6-5-1. But in this fight, there's so many swing rounds. Like how I said in the Davis-Cruz fight that I'd be okay with the draw, but I wouldn't give 7 rounds, to Isaac Cruz. But in this one, I'd be willing to go 7-5 either way, 6-5-1 either way, or a draw. I thought it was that close. The punch stats, what do we got? 187 landed out of 717 thrown, 26%. So Fundora was a little more accurate, that's for sure. Landed a little bit more, but 187 compared to 163. 778. He actually wasn't more active. 717. I looked at it wrong. 778 for 21%. That's what Garcia was. That one scorecard. Well, first of all, I wasn't big on the 9-3 scorecard either, at all. But that 10-2. What is it? Rochin? A lot of people identify him as a shitty L.A., California ref just in general, and I'd have to agree with that one. Well, 7-5's cool, a little far, and some people had 8-4, whatever, but I couldn't see 9-3, and I damn sure couldn't see 10-2, so I thought that was bullshit. I thought Fundora won the fight, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure it's Erickson Lubin next, and then that makes it an official, title eliminator to become the Mando for that WBC. And who knows? That fight's supposed to happen in February. Maybe someone will drop something because I still don't know if people are ready to watch Lubin Charlo if he were to win. Now, maybe that would be the rematch if he lost the rematch with Castaño. If Charlo loses to Castaño in February, maybe that would be who he'd fight for it. Maybe not. Maybe Castaño would get the fight. I don't know if they're going to hang on to their belts. That's what I'm saying. You never quite know how long they can hold on to theirs just because a lot of factors in there. It's bigger fight. I probably want the bigger fight rather than, like a Spence fight. If Castano wins and he's undisputed, you can't tell me a Spence fight's not coming soon, within a year or something like that, maybe a little longer. But you know what I mean? So he may want to drop a belt too. Who knows? But anyway, competitive fight, so that was cool. But yeah, it didn't live up to the action that we thought we were going to get. Going into that thing, most people were just, just so excited. Just couldn't wait to see that fight. So, it is what it is. Sometimes that just happens. Major credit away when this happens because, they match him up, they put him in the ring. That's all you can do. The opener, Eduardo Ramirez and Miguel Mariaga, or Mariaga, it was kind of funny because that was like a clear win for Ramirez, no doubt about it. Like, the scorecards were wide. He clearly beat him. But it was fun. It was fun how we got there. You know what I mean? So that's one of those one-sided fights that, sure, no doubt, but it was action. So I still did appreciate that was on the cards. Like, okay, that's a good first fight, but the one that we were all kind of looking forward to on the undercard, beyond the Fondora Garcia, was Derevyanchenko. How come I can't say his name right? Ever since the V is in there more now, Derevyanchenko, in Adamas. This was a fun fight, dude. This was a fun fight. And I did pick Derevyanchenko to win the fight. But Adamas, dude, he really impressed me. I was really impressed. I had him winning the fight. Whether it was 6-4, maybe even 7-3, maybe 5-4-1, I don't know. But either way, I had Adamas winning. I did. I really was impressed with him. I thought he had, Isaac Cruz maybe overachieved. We'll see his rest of his fights. Maybe that's just where he was, and he was underestimated. But Adamas freaking looked good, dude. I liked it. I liked what I had to see. That counter uppercut and his upper body movement in general. I gave him 3 out of the first 4 rounds. I really think the counter shots, working the body still, those straight right hands, stiff jab left to the body, whereas it seemed like Derevyanchenko was mostly jabs, you know what I mean? He had, even in the second round, he probably stole that round, but it was still a competitive round. After the 5th, I did give him the 5th, Derevyanchenko. Adamas got off to a good start in that round, but I think that Derevyanchenko finally started picking up the pace more behind the jab, throwing combinations, getting him on the ropes. And that's where, if you're going to fight this fighter, we've seen him struggle when he's up against the ropes. And you look at this fight and you go, man, how the hell did he lose to what's-his-toes? The guy that Castano beat, Teixeira. You look back and you go, man, styles do make fights, dude. It's just crazy. But after that, it was a 2-way 6th round. I thought he was busier, Adamas, and he had better head movement. 7th round. 8th round was a great round. That was, super fun. Adamas probably closed stronger. The left hook and looping right hands by Derevyanchenko, head in body there. That was a close round. You could give either guy the round there. I did think Adamas bounced back, though, and his upper body movement, counter hook, just stole the show there. Even though, once again, Derevyanchenko had a good round or whatever, I did give him the 10th. But, yeah, 6-4, maybe somewhat 7-3, 5-4-1, whatever the fuck. But they throw basically this dude. They both threw 562 and 569, and both of them landed at 28%. Jervante got outlanded by 5 punches, give or take. So that was a competitive fight, man, and that was really I kind of felt like it was the fight of the weekend, even though most people will say Jervante and Isak. But I did think, though, that by the mid to late rounds that Jervante would TKO or knock out Cruz, and credit to him. But I thought that would be more of a banger right away, and it was a banger, but I did think there'd be more mixing it up even more, and that's when Cruz would get caught with something. And don't get me wrong, he got caught with a bunch of left hooks and right hooks and uppercuts and all that, but dude's got a great chin, like I mentioned. Both of them have great chins, man. Both of them have great chins. All right, so let's see here. Let's go on to Devin Haney and Joseph Diaz Jr. It was hard to give too many. Like, you couldn't. This wasn't anywhere near a draw. I think 8-4, 9-3. I had it 9-3. I could see 8-4. I don't see 7-5. You know, don't get me wrong. Hey, you know, Diaz had his moments. There was enough of them, and it took him like a good 3 rounds just to get his motor running. Haney came out, jabbing, throwing the right hand. I love the right hand to the body. That right hand, yes, it was landing in the head by Haney, no doubt, but that right hand to the body, I loved seeing that, dude. And Haney just had this subtle movement to him. There was times where he would push a little bit more than we're used to seeing forward, but it was strategic. It was under control, but he just kept making these subtle little movements. And I think it took to, the 4th round for Diaz to warm all the way up, where he landed good jabs and he landed multiple hooks. And even though Haney may have, finished strong in that round, there was a body shot in that round and a couple more shots later that you go, is he hurt? It seems like Haney has a little Thurman in him, and that could be good, bad. But what I mean by that is he doesn't have a great poker face when he's hurt. And I know he said he didn't get hurt as much as he got hurt against Linares, and I think that's true. But that body shot early, I do believe it was that 4th round, maybe a little later, but in that round. And then some left hooks later. We'll talk about that. But Haney took the stuff right back. 4th round, great. I'm right back on it. Right back on the game plan. Nice bounce back in the 5th. Same with the 6th. Busier, cleaner punching. That counter uppercut was starting to work. A lot of counter uppercuts this weekend. I just realized that. But I did give the left hooks. You saw Haney moving probably a little bit more than he should, or at least the most in the fight that he had. But I gave the 7th round for sure to Diaz. And here's the thing. These left hooks, like I said earlier, I'm not saying Haney's a sucker for left hooks. But when a guy and it's okay to get hurt, it's okay to get dropped, all that stuff. It's actually better to do it while you're going up, so you can see the adversity. And I think that whether he was buzzed or hurt in this fight, whichever it was, he learned from that. He learned from the Linares fight, and he fought really well. But when you get hit by the same punch multiple times, let's say in like a 10-second, 20-second gap, that's where I'm like, damn, dude, like, get hurt, that's fine. But, man, you're going to get hit by the same exact shot. And that's something that you just kind of store in the back of your head, and you go, okay, we'll see on that one. But like I said, I got to give Haney credit here because he bounced back. even after a round he lose, he bounced back, but he bounced back in the sense of, because he dominated a lot of that Linares fight, but I did like how he handled this time around when he did get buzzed or whatever. And Diaz, here's the problem. This dude's trying to land like the perfect one shot, one big shot, and it seemed like he almost the whole fight, maybe three rounds I gave him. It just seemed like that was the only time where he was being busy in throwing combos and stuff like that. It just seemed like, well, first of all, Haney has more pop than we think, or at least than Diaz thinks, because it did contain him, right? But that's where I thought Diaz had some issues. Not to say that he would have, won the fight, but if he had just fought a different way, and that's all he needed. I'm not saying that, but I did think he was headhunting too much. You know what I mean? I think he was headhunting a little too much. I did kind of notice that. It's just kind of like, dude, like, what's going on, man? Like, what are we doing here? Let's not do that. But either way, like I said, I had Haney pretty easily. They had one scorecard had an 8-4, the other two 9-3. I thought the scorecards were right on there. Haney landed 164 to 140, and Haney outlanded Diaz. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, or not outlanded him, but outthrew him 614 to 573. So it was kind of funny though. Like it wasn't, it really wasn't that big of a crowd. I thought his last fight, that was at the Mandalay. I thought they had it just seemed like it was more lively, but the fans that were there did still represent, but they represented on both sides because you could hear at times, and even in the start, it was kind of a combination. Haney, anyway, even though he's based out of Vegas, some of the crowd was booing him, so there was plenty of folks there for Diaz. But either way, a sound beating, good performance by Devin Haney, and we'll see. I mean, he talks about wanting to go to Australia and fight Gambosus and getting this undisputed fight going on. A lot of people think that Gambosus isn't undisputed because of that WBC thing, but when I look at that, there's really no of course the franchise sucks, right? It's just like the Super WBA, right, where you don't have to do mandatories, but there's plenty of times, unfortunately, WBA did not let Ugas and Spence fight, but there's plenty of times where there's a mandatory due, right? But it supersedes it because you have a unification fight. So that's really all I think happened there. I mean, this whole Lomachenko ducked Haney. So he ducked him to go fight at the time a Prestige. Most people thought that was a bigger threat. So, and he lost the fight. So if he ducked Haney to go fight a fight that he lost, then it's really not a duck. I've said that all along. It just seems like he's a mandatory. Okay, well, we're going to skip this mandatory because we're going to go for all the belts. It's going to be not just a unification, but that's generally how that goes. So, but yeah, I would like to see if they can't make the fights, then the sanctioning belts, although they suck, they can be effective. And this would be the time to be effective, and make it a smart split too. I think that's another thing in play. Remember when the WBO called Sean Porter, where they made it a 60-40 split instead of a higher one. So that kind of gets you on the, well, hold on, maybe we could just figure this out, and it doesn't even come down to a purse bid, So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But, yeah, I mean, I'd assume I wouldn't be shocked if Gambosus fought just a good fighter in Australia. But I could see, like I mentioned, Haney and Lomachenko Because they just don't. They're not this overriding A side like Tank is. So Tank could say, why don't we just fight here? It's more money for us. So if you can prove that Australia is going to put up money, the tourism department, like they did for Manny, if you can prove it, cool, let's do it. But if they can't put up the bigger money, you might as well fight me here. Aussies can come here and we'll make more money. So either way, whereas Haney, like I said, he's not an A side. So going there is like, why wouldn't I? You know, it'd still be big money and stuff like that. And Lomachenko is an A side, but he's like a lot of other A sides in the business. That, you know, there's just not a lot of interest at the gate for him. You know, and as I mentioned, like there's not many fighters that can go over even 1 million at the gate. It's difficult. It's very difficult. So, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'm thinking that Lomachenko, Haney will probably be fighting Gambosus before Ryan Garcia or before Tank. You know, and since those are the biggest two names in the division, well, that's the biggest money fight. Well, then make that fight. Like I said, last spring and early summer, we thought we had that fight. It was all but done. That was the plan. And then the Manny Pacquiao exhibition came up. And then later, you know, and I'm not poking fun, but mental health and whatever, you know. And then a full-on injured hand, too. A lot of people thought he was faking that. Dude had surgery on him. I'm talking about Ryan Garcia, of course. He had surgery on it, guys. So, you know, once you're in there for surgery, there's something going on with it. It's not like he's coming off a fight and making it up as an excuse or something like that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, man, the lightweight division, it's the layers now. The Gambosus, the Isak Cruz, like the layers that we got now is really fun. And the next few years in and around 135 and 140, and hey, let's not forget some dudes can come up to 135 from 130, right? I mean, that's got some talent there too. Obviously, Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson would like, a word too possibly coming up. So we'll see. But either way, it was a very fun weekend. The undercard, I got to admit, the undercard, like I said before, is a little bit more prospect driven. There really wasn't, you know what I mean, much to write home about, if we're being honest. I mean, it just wasn't. It just wasn't. Jessica McCaskill, you know, what was it, 6th or 7th round stoppage, pretty one-sided. Mark Castro, what was that, 2nd round, blew his guy out. Montana Love looked very good. He had 3 knockdowns, takes apart Carlos Diaz in 3 rounds. You know what I mean? So it was pretty. Also, Anthony Yard actually did get his payback against Lyndon Arthur. That was I mean, he tore him apart in like 4 rounds. There was also, Shiraz. Shiraz, is that what it is? Shiraz? And Bradley Skeet, 9th round stoppage, and I'm pretty sure Bradley Skeet is, he's actually, I'm looking at it right now, BoxingScene.com, Ron Lewis, British Boxing Board of Control, to take a look at the Shiraz versus Skeet. Was going to lose the fight. He was down. He took a knee. He was down. Sitting on his knee. And oh boy, Shiraz, what was it, like a 3-piece? He landed like 3 punches after. And it was like, whoa, and I think he got points deducted, but it should have been a DQ. I mean, you can't land that many shots past it when it's that obvious. You know what I mean? So they are going to investigate that. So, yeah, it was, like I said, it was a fun weekend. No doubt about it. We do have some fights coming up this weekend that I'm looking forward to. We'll probably just go right into those. And then we'll go to news. Ugas, unfortunately, is not going to be able to be allowed to fight Spence and have a unification, which is pretty bullshit. It's their fault for making so many titles at 147. I'm speaking of the WBA. I think I said this last weekend too. Maybe I already said it in this podcast. But how the fuck do you beat Manny Pacquiao? Because remember, there was an issue with super or regular. Well, who is it? Well, we stripped Manny. Why didn't you just? Was he a champion in recess? I don't know. They basically created a real champ with Ugas in Manny. Those are the two highest ranked guys in that as far as championships right there. So by them fighting, they created the WBA champ, the super champ, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It shouldn't be called super champ anymore because, unless it's like super bantamweight or something, it should be called super because you're only going to have one besides the interim once in a while. So you create a real championship. Ugas has already signed a contract to fight Spence in February, and that was the plan. And then out of nowhere, at the time, we didn't know the plan 100%. So when I heard about, because I didn't know how long, it was tough to say how long Spence was going to be out. We knew it was a minor retina thing, and they caught it before it got worse, so we knew that was positive, but we didn't know if that meant 6 months or a year. It was tough to say. I didn't know. So when I first heard of this tournament, I said, oh, these are good fights. Cool. That'll keep Ugas paid and busy, and then he could fight, whoever. But, literally, they called this tournament, and then he was like, well, hold on, I already have some plans here. This is the plans. So, and it was supposed to fight Ugas Spence, February, whatever it was, 22nd or whatever the hell it was. So, it is a bummer. But either way, I said I was going to get to the fights. Let's just start with this news right here. Ugas and Stanonius, this is Jake Donovan, BoxingScene.com. They agreement reached between sides that the purse bid will be canceled. There was a purse bid tomorrow scheduled. So, unfortunately, and I'll say this. The only thing is he could actually drop the belt and just say, screw it, I'm going to go fight Spence. You know what I mean? That is something that he can do. But the request came a day late, just 24 hours prior to the formally ordered 4-man box off. But, they order this, they order that, they do this, they do that. We've heard all. It's a franchise for the WBC. There's all this stuff out there. But at some point, since you can make up, you just make up a special, there's definitely room to maneuver when it comes to a big fight like this. And so, clearing out the champs and making just one champ is more important. Well, dude, it's your own fault you had 3 different titles there. You had a super, you had a regular, and then you had an interim. That's your own fucking fault. So why ruin it, who's Stanonius beat to be able to say, oh, Ugas before Ugas and Spence? Hey, I get it. Stanonius, of course he's going to try to take this fight. I'm not ripping their side at all. But it's just kind of like one step ahead, 2 steps back sometimes, with these sanctioning belts. And I'm not just picking on the WBA. We're just talking about it right here because they deserve some picking on because, they've had some really good fights, but sometimes you're just like, what's that all about? Why is that a belt? But whatever. It is what it is. But it just sucks. You know what I mean? It sucks. Anyway, this weekend, we do have some interesting fights, no doubt. On Saturday, on DAZN, Conor Benn and Chris Algieri. Conor Benn is looking to gain more experience fighting, over-the-hill guys, which I get it, Chris Algieri did just have a fight not all that long ago, so that's good because he has been, on the shelf more than not in the last few years. He's been, doing the personal trainer. He's been doing broadcast stuff, which I think he's pretty good at. But so we'll see how that goes. You know what I mean? We'll see how that fight goes. Algieri's always game, skillful on the outside, maybe. Katie Taylor returns at a fight that it says Sharapova. I don't think that's a tennis player. No, I'm not trying to. This girl can punch me in the face pretty easy, but it shouldn't be much of a fight. That's on DAZN though. And then of course we have the Sili Lomachenko versus Richard Comey. On the undercard, kind of interesting stuff. Maybe not always the matchup, but the fighter itself. But in this one, Jared Anderson, the unbeaten heavyweight U.S. prospect, he's going against Alexander Teslenko, or Teslenko? Teslenko, I think it is. Teslenko. This is the fight that was supposed to be. Didn't Anderson? Wait. Did this drop out? I can't remember. But anyway, that's, it's Anderson. That's cool that they're giving, a good shot out there. Keyshawn Davis returns. Nico Ollie Walsh returns as well. Xander Zayas returns. He's a really up-and-coming prospect. This dude's got a ton of talent. So, yeah, there's definitely some prospect-driven stuff on this. And that's on ESPN. And remember, that's after the Heisman Trophy Award ceremony. So that should get a nice pop in ratings. I think this is, the third time Lomachenko's been in the spot? Or is it the fourth? I know he fought Rigo there on that date. I think he fought Pedraza because that's the night Teofimo iced on that undercard. I think it's the third. Maybe it's the fourth. I'm not totally sure. I think it's the third, though, time they put him. And also Nonito on Showtime, same night, Nonito Donaire and Raymart Gaballo fight. Brandon Lee in Juan Heraldez. That could be like a good action fight. I definitely favor Lee in that. There is also an IBF junior featherweight title eliminator between Teshigawara and Tapalas? I can't remember. That actually might be a good fight. So some of these fights. Oh, and Abdu Karaho. God damn, I'm just butchering that name. Karaho. I can't remember how to say that guy's name. I know that he's highly ranked in the IBF. He's taking on Cody Crowley. Abdu Kakarov. That's I think how you say it, or close to. Abdu Kakarov. He's up there in the IBF. He's sitting there on the mandatory, trying to knock on that door, staying busy. I believe they've stepped aside him a couple times, if I remember correctly. And then in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Sonny Edwards and Jason Mama, and also Casemiro and Paul Butler, and Nietes and Jimenez. Jonah Caro is actually on the card too. Also on DAZN, I forgot about this. Dmitry Bivol will take on I believe it's his Mando, Salamov. So we'll see. Oh, Teixeira's in action. Kurbanov. So we'll see how that goes. Big, Kurbanov. A lot of people are high on him. We'll see how that goes. It's on DAZN. So once again, a busy ass weekend. Real quick on the, when you look at a lot of these fights this weekend, there's just the Sonny Edwards fight, as far as the main events goes, is probably the closest. Let's see, actually. Yeah, he's a plus 250 and up. Edwards. I'm talking about Jason Mama, over in Sonny Edwards. But my point is, you got Algeria at the lowest he is plus 450. You can find him all the way up to plus 600. Donaire, Gaballo is like the lowest you can find him is plus 270. So yeah, maybe those are about. Yeah, maybe that's the closest fight. But I don't know. I mean, my point is, I don't know. Like Teixeira is actually an underdog, plus 215. Kurbamanov, he's definitely favored to win that fight. And who knows? Maybe Patrick Teixeira can throw that off or whatever. Hank Lundy, Henry Hammer and Hank Lundy and Robbie Davies Jr. So I'm just hoping that some of these fights, can pop off, right? Where you just go, huh? And, Gaballo is undefeated. He's 25-0 or 24-0. He's got like 20 knockouts. His last fight was, I think, late last year. I think about a year's time, something like that. And that was that decision over Emmanuel Rodriguez. I think that was like a funky – let me look that up. I kind of want to think it was a funky decision there. But other than that, like I remember Stephen Young, he fought trying to think somebody else. Here we go. I'll go to the box rec real quick. Vargas was 16-1. Yeah, that was 115, 113, 116, 112, and 118, 110 at a split decision. And I don't recall. I kind of think it was a clean win. And I think I believe, God, I can't remember that fight totally. But anyway, I mean, anytime, Donaire obviously coming off, I mean, he's been active at least, of late anyway. He got to fight late May. And Ubali, he knocked him out. That was a nice win. So I definitely favor Donaire in this fight. But anytime you're, late 30s, the dude's almost 40, for Christ's sake. I mean, this dude, you just never know when it's going to fall off. But I don't know. I'm not picking him to win, or I am picking him to win. I'm not picking him to get upset, but it could be an upset because we have seen him underperform at times, but that's been not the case lately. And him going down to 118 was such a blessing for him because we knew featherweight was probably too high for him. 122 was a good weight for him, but 118, you normally never see, someone at his age be able to go down and it's good. But then again, he went up because, he was chasing bigger fights. So he could make it, just like Rigondeaux. He came back down. So, it is what it is. By the way, 90 seconds left of the live stream, 646-381-4990. That's 646-381-4990 is the number to dial if you want to listen to the rest of the show. I'm going to give my predictions. We're going to hear from Portland. I'm going to go over some news. I got a bunch of different messages that I'll go over. Some people not happy with me. Some people happy. Who cares? Who knows, right? But as far as Lomachenko goes and Comey, always a game dude, And I respect a guy like this so much because his schedule, win, lose, or draw, Comey's schedule, whether he gets knocked out, whether he maybe should have beat Easter, whatever the hell, this guy has he's really done it, man. Ever since he got to that world championship level, I mean, it was a razor tight, super fun to watch fight between him and Robert Easter Jr. And then he followed that right up like 6 months later, taking on Denis Shabakov, another split decision. Even beating Alejandro Luna, the unbeaten prospect at the time. Beating Beltran, taking on Teofimo Lopez. Jackson Martinez, wasn't that Martinez who actually had, most people thought he Romero. And he knocked him out. And now he's taking on Lomachenko. So no matter what happens in this fight, shout out to Comey, dude. Comey's going to come at you. Sometimes he won't be aggressive enough. Like, he'll be aggressive, but his punch count sometimes, his activity won't be as aggressive as you need him. But at some point in the fight, he will be. You know what I mean? The Teofimo fight, it didn't line up well for him. And Lopez, it seems like he peaked right there. I'm not saying he can never find that again, but he definitely peaked at that moment. I know he beat Lomachenko next. You could say that was his peak, but just catching him perfect and knocking him out like that was, pretty wicked, obviously. Especially that early. But as far as this fight goes, he's just going to have to keep bringing that pressure. And, Lomachenko, although he's got some pop, he's dropped some people at this weight. He's just power-wise, he's definitely not the same as he was at 126 and 130. And Comey's got to somehow, it's so hard to cut the ring on Loma, but he's going to have to do it. You don't want to be sitting in a skill fest in the middle of the ring. That's not going to work. But you can't just let him, it's hard to say like, oh, you got to slow him down. You got to, cut off the ring. But, Loma's feet is so damn good and so quick. And the angles he uses, Now, some of these angles leaves him close to the fighter, right, that he's facing. Some guys can take advantage of that. Some guys can't. But even Linares wasn't able to take advantage of it for a little bit until he got stopped because he did drop him. Sometimes I forget about that. Good fight. Very good. Competitive fight. But, and then you got to look at Comey, like, what's he got left? I think a lot. I do think a lot. I've seen that on boxing Twitter a little bit, that Comey, like Jervante and Comey's the same thing. And I see what they're saying because he has been in some hard fights. Don't get me wrong, but he's he got knocked out by Teofimo. He's been in some brawls and all that, but he did have a little run. I'm looking at it right now. After he took a lot those back-to-back tough fights. We're talking that's 2016, if you can believe it. Then he had some. Not that if you beat someone clean that you don't take punishment, but he also stopped some dudes pretty early. So, therefore, you wouldn't be taking all that punishment. So, yeah, we could look at that one fight and go, man, he got caught perfectly. And why, Loma should be able to – it should be target practice at times in this fight. It really should be. And you wonder – if Loma will be on the move more right away and then kind of stand his ground and also do that, I'm over here, no, I'm over there, how he's just from one side to the other real quick and he's punching you while he's doing it, So I wonder if that's how he's going to approach it. Like I said, Comey has to be even more of an aggressor than he already is because you got to be able to get him on the ropes. You got to be able to rough him up. And at 135, there's guys that maybe aren't on Lomachenko's level that have had success. Not just Linares knocking him down. Pedraza had some success. People had success at 135 against him. But beyond Teofimo, he basically overcomes it or knocks him out. Look at he looked damn good in his last fight, didn't he? Took care of business against Nakatani. Took care of business. So I could see maybe a TKO. What was that? The 9th or something, 10th round that he knocked out, something like that he knocked out Nakatani. I think it was the 9th or 10th. And could I see that? Yeah, maybe. But I also kind of think that you got to land these crazy, not just clean, flush, accurate, but you got to land these big power punching, huge power punches, just like Teofimo did in a sense, to stop him in his tracks and then just to hurt him so bad because he was obviously hurt enough to where technically it was a TKO, but he was done. So, and I don't know, I don't know if he could do that per se. I know he's capable of it, but I'm just not quite sure. I mean, he's quicker, or just as quick as Loma or as Teofimo. They both, do try to pick their shots, but the difference is, well, not in the Gambosus fight. Teofimo wasn't really picky with his shots. He was winging his shots, especially early. But the difference is Lomachenko tends to stay really active and busy throughout the fight. So even if you were to land the biggest shot, you'd probably have to kind of either kind of make him back up or sometimes to the body or whatever, knock him down, to win competitive, consecutive, I should say, rounds. It's tough to do that against Loma. And unless he's not all up in his grill behind that jab, thrown to the head and body hooks and that overhand right that he has and all that, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's not that I don't think Comey doesn't have a chance, but within the first 3 to 4 rounds, oh shoot, I just got shocked really bad. That was weird. I wonder if you could hear that on the recording because it kind of went through my mic. So where the hell was I? I just got electrocuted. Okay. That kind of sounds funny. That should be a movie. Where the hell was I? I just got electrocuted. Maybe you could flip that around. But anyway, I'm going to say decision. Maybe it's gotten to the point where Comey's ready to be TKO'd again. Possibility. I definitely will be eyeing those numbers as well. I don't feel confident on putting any underdog money on him, to be fair. But yeah, I like Lomachenko. I'm going to say unanimous decision, but a chance at a late TKO past the 9th or 10th or something like that because, Loma did look, I don't know if it's going to be, rejuvenated a little bit. He did actually look like he looked as himself in the last fight against Nakatani. I think that's obvious. Now the styles help, but sure, the styles help in that fight, but Comey's style helps Lomachenko in this one too, if we're being honest. And I like to be honest, when I can. So yeah, that's about it there. Yeah, I like I said, I think Donaire's got it too. I don't really see that. I don't really see, I like Donaire in that fight pretty cleanly. Let's see. Yeah, I like all the favorites too on the Showtime card. Maybe Butler can do something with Casemiro on that Dubai card December 11th. So that's not on DAZN. Well, I guess. For some reason I thought that was on DAZN. It's nice to see Dimitri Bivol back, though. Welcome back. Man, that guy, he's got what appears to be, high-level talent. And it would seem that way, right? But since like late 2019, he just he had a nice run there, no doubt. It was a decent run, where he beat like Sullivan Barrera and Chilemba, and Joe Smith Jr. Definitely easily beat him, Pascal. But since then, let me look at it real quick. So yeah, in the last 2 years, it's just been Castillo, Craig Richards, and now Salamov. I believe Salamov is a man, though, if I remember correctly. But that is about it when it comes to fight preview. I will do some news because there is some of that, no doubt about it. Yeah, so we'll get into some of that. This was actually, I think, posted a day ago on BoxingScene.com by Miguel Rivera. It was 2 days ago. It said Castaño training hard. This is the headline. Castaño training hard for Charlo rematch. Pause. Waiting for official word. And it was kind of a misleading quote in this one. And I kind of think he probably is mad that it's in Houston, because the first one wasn't in Houston. It was in Texas, but it really wasn't like a home crowd for Charlo. But, and you know, Mexicans and Hispanics in general will probably come out in Houston anyway. For you know, it was a good fight too, very competitive fight. So I wonder if that's what he's kind of frustrated about, because it is supposed to. It's been positioned like it says right here, February 26th at the Toyota Center in Houston, because the quotes don't really add up to being like legit. This is what he said. So far, I have no information in particular, like no written documents for sure, like officially signing it. Then he says they want to rush me to have the fight in February, but I did not receive anything official. They asked me how it could, or how it would be for me to like the fit, how it would be for me to fight in February. They tried to test me on what I would agree to, because they even talked about January. The point is that the date is also good for me because I'm not doing everything they want. So basically kind of saying like, well, I chose I'm more happy with the February date so I can at least hold my ground. But here's where it gets a little funky, because first of all, if they're telling you right now, a lot of fights start to get negotiated behind closed doors, but the people that are negotiating let the fighter know. So you start to get in the camp, you start getting going. And even right now, it's December 8th. You know, so you have, you know, that's close to 3 months already. And so it's like, that's not rushing you. You know, if you're going to fight February 27th, or even in January, it wouldn't be the craziest rush because you would have already known it. And here's my other point. He did say that he's been back in camp for a while, working out and all that. But he also, this might be some of the reason too. He says after the fight, the first week he stayed at his advisor's house. Then he went to Puerto Rico for like 10 days. When he returned in mid-August, he said, I rested for a month because my father began to tell me that I had to train because surely Charlo was already doing it. He was already training, staying in shape. But I really didn't even want to go through the gym door. I finally started training in the gym about 2.5 months ago. Until a month ago, I did one shift of training and now 2 shifts at a very good pace, good sparring. But he said he was fat. He said, and I know he got up in weight, like he gets up in weight, but he said he was around 190, 95 pounds. And that motivated him to get in the gym and gradually, you know, lose the weight. Because his dad's like, look at your belly, you know. And, you know, he said he's about 176 right now. And he's working comfortably without exhausting it. But that's my point. It's like the fight happened in July. Whether the fight was going to be a rematch in January or February, you had plenty of time. So to sit here and be like, oh, they're trying to rush me, it's just kind of like, they tried to rush me. They tried to test me, and they're trying to rush me. They want to rush me to have the fight in February. It's kind of like, well, are you sure, dude? Like, you just got done saying that you've been training for 2 months on and off. So it's your own fault if you get big. Some guys get big during camp, some, or you know, off of camp. Some people don't. But it seems like kind of an excuse to sit there and be like, oh, they're trying to rush me, even though I've been working out for 2 months and I'm down to a manageable weight now. It's like, well, that's on you, dude. Like, it's kind of funky. I don't know. And I'll say this, too. Ever since the pandemic hit, these fights have been announced like 6 to 8 weeks tops. Well, I shouldn't say tops, maybe 10 weeks tops. But whereas it used to be more like, I mean, sometimes you'd have the 2-month thing, no doubt, but you'd already know the fight was taking place for like a month, you know, like the general public, and they were just finalizing stuff, and it needed to be officially, you know, announced. But I don't know. It could be that he was out of shape a little bit. It could be that he is mad that it's in Houston, which I get. I get that. But it's kind of like I don't know. It came across a little weird, like rushing you from July until December. It just seems like that's not that big of a rush, I guess is my point. Joe Smith Jr., some more news. Joe Smith Jr. and Caleb Johnson made it official for January 15th in Verona, New York. So that's something, right? That is something. What do we got here? Oh, yeah, well, someone sent me this. I think I talked about this last week, how Murata and Golovkin's off because of the new COVID restrictions over there. So that's off, and they're looking to reschedule it next year in Japan. But it's like, man, they're going to have to put that thing off again? Like, geez, Louise, that Smith-Johnson fight is on ESPN, by the way. I don't know. It's kind of like, man, Golovkin and Murata, they've waited all year to do this. Now it's off. Reportedly, anyway, there's a bunch of money in this fight. So that's why they're, holding off on it. That Aoki fight, too. What is it, Anaconas or whatever? That one's done, too. And I would have watched both of them, no doubt. I was definitely looking at the other fight, though, more, that 115-pound fight. But, whatever. Both of them good. Eddie Hearn, this is Boxing King Media. Eddie Hearn has confirmed there are now initial conversations about a possible step-aside for Anthony Joshua to allow Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk next. He just wants to fight Usyk, but if there's a route, an offer, it makes sense. We'll see. That's going to be a lot of money. That's a lot of money on top of the fact that the WBC just ordered Tyson Fury and Dillian White to open negotiation period. So could they fight? Are they going to need both? They're going to need both of them? I don't know. I mean, you're going to need both to step aside? I don't know. Gary Russell Jr. is back, folks. Not in 2021, though. January 26th, Gary Russell Jr. is going to take on Mark Magsayo, I think is his name, which he's an unbeaten Filipino prospect. Considering how long he's been on the ring, I think it's interesting on that one. I think it's interesting. By the way, the International Boxing Hall of Fame just announced their class of 2022. Miguel Cotto, Roy Jones Jr., James Toney. Also, Holly Holm and Regina Halmich are in there. Uncle Bill Kaplan, Ron Borges, and Bob Yalen. Also, Todd Morgan, an old-timer, and Chuck Hull, a non-participant. He's passed. But the key thing is there, as far as the men's boxing, Cotto, Jones, Toney, and then Holm and Halmich, too. And, that Regina, she definitely had, she was very successful. She had a, very successful career when you look at her numbers. You know what I'm saying? This is what Bob Arum said to fight hype. I don't think about George Gambosus. I don't think he's top caliber. He fought Teofimo Lopez that should have been in the hospital, not the boxing ring. He also said Bob Arum has said they've been led to believe that the WBO, with Bob only, are going to order Vasily Lomachenko as mandatory for George Gambosus. He added that they'd be happy to do it in Australia if the pandemic allows it, if they don't tweak any of the stuff. So, kind of interesting. Now, can they put in a petition before and say, I want to choose it. I don't want, I'm going to fight somebody else. And since he just won all the belts, will they give him a defense? Just one defense, go for it? Or will they, call someone? Like I kept saying earlier, I think somebody's going to get called here. I think I mentioned this. Someone sent this to me that Tank relinquished his WBA belt, the half a belt. So, he's still got a half a belt at 135. Are they going to call that? What's going to go on, man? All three of those. Kind of interesting how that goes. What else do I got for news? I think. This is kind of a boxing Twitter thing. Mark Ortega, he makes a good point here. He says Sergey Derevyanchenko is a rare 13-3 fighter who has bagged over $10 million in purses despite never winning a world title or being A-side. That's why it's called the boxing business. No kidding. And speaking of schedule, that guy's schedule, man, wow. I mean, Golovkin, Charlo, tough fight he just got off. Jacobs, gonna fight Canelo, but Canelo dropped that belt because of the money thing. Oh man, that's crazy, dude. That is really crazy. So, let's see if Portland, if you wanna pitch in here real quick and see if you maybe you're at work and you're just chilling. I'm going to send you a text too. Otherwise, I'll go through a couple of messages. Oh boy, just saw one that I hadn't seen before. And then we'll finish with boxing Twitter, our boxing Twitter segment, where we read the tweet of the week and some fanboy stuff, media fanboy stuff. While I'm waiting for Portland to respond. So I got a message saying I'm always hard on Eddie Hearn, even though Eddie Hearn's always, and this is the funny part, because I've literally played this audio before, so I access it very quickly. He's always been looking to make a fight no matter what platform it's on. He's always done that from the jump. The second he came over from the U.S., this is what this guy says, that he's always been willing to do it. He's always putting up money for it. He just wants to make the best fights. He don't care where it is and all that stuff, right? And then with Terrence Crawford, once again, because I'm always giving both sides of the Spence and Crawford thing, trying to be fair about it, right? He says that, of course, it always happens when Spence fights, then Crawford's, ducking him hard. When Crawford wins and fights, then now it's the other way, And I did like that video, by the way. And he linked that little Twitter clip of Terrence Crawford in the ocean saying, I'm looking for the big fish, it's a big-ass ocean. Where you at? You're hiding. And he's saying, he's hiding. He won't do it. Crawford's done everything, and multiple people, I saw this on Twitter, but in this message basically said the same thing. He's done everything he could to make this fight. Spence is the one ducking. And this guy, I think it's a guy, I can't really tell off the Twitter handle, but this dude who must have, I don't know, followed me real quick, and I don't know. But I got a direct message from him. And he's talking about that Crawford's done everything he could to make this, because look at the Porter. Porter's the only one that would take it. But remember, Porter, and by the way, if you're on here right now, because I do see a variety of numbers that I'm not totally familiar with, press 1, we could talk about this. But he said that Porter's the one who took the fight because he wasn't afraid. Spence is afraid. And that, he goes on to say, like, he would take – see, the thing is, Porter went over there and basically took, like, what's close to a 60-40. And that's why it made sense in a lot of ways. Because Porter's not a ticket seller on his own. Crawford can sell tickets. Maybe he doesn't sell as many Spence, but he does sell tickets. He's always had a solid ticket base. And now he has 2 fights that went over $1 million. And maybe that fight went to over $2 million. We don't know just yet with him and Porter at the gate anyway. But that's why he was there. First of all, they put up a reported $4 million, but then Porter's pops, Ken, said it was $5 million. So whether that's 7-5, 6-4, whatever it was, maybe it's 6-5. Point is, he took the lower of the 2 to make the fight. And we've heard plenty of times, that Crawford doesn't want to do 50-50. Or not 50-50. Well, he said it shouldn't be 50-50. If anything, he's the A side. Crawford multiple times now, and I've said it on both sides. Now, if Spence tries to do the 80-20 shit, like it probably is 70-30, but I've heard him say multiple times that it's 60-40. I'm good with. Right? But he said jokingly, I believe, that he may have to 80-20 him, as a joke, right? Now, if he said, I'm not going to do the fight, it has to be 80-20, well, I would give him shit for that. I think most of us would. But on the flip side, you can't just let Crawford walk all alone. First of all, he did sign to Top Rank, and Manny went over the PBC. So he could have waited to make sure that they had the Pacquiao fight. Because that was – no, I understand the guarantees were very solid. He made a lot of money. That's cool. But – come on, And okay, so they're listening. It's not in the browser. So like I said, if you're listening, press 1. Or maybe, because I've been off the live stream for a while. So press 1 if you want to join in. But to be fair, no, I'm not. I think Crawford would do it for 50-50. I'm not sold he'd do it for 40 or 60, just off of his words. And maybe he's trying to negotiate it so it isn't 70-30. You know what I mean? I don't know. But I've heard multiple times, and it's super easy. It's funny because during this time, I've literally Googled it. And of course, this person hasn't Googled it because they've done everything they can, and he would take the B-side money and all this stuff. That's basically like a long list, a paragraph of what Crawford's done to try to make it. And we know when they had that Twitter back and forth and they said they called each other and they figured it out, they're going to fight in the future. In that time frame, Spence said it. He said, you already know what it takes. You already know what it takes to make the fight. And to me, that's 60-40. But here it is. I literally Googled it while I was talking. That's how easy it is to get this stuff. But Crawford, this is from a year ago. Crawford on the Spence fight. If it ain't 60-40 in my favor, it won't happen. This is what he said. Now, in this article, Unboxing Scene, Spence is saying that he would do it for 60-40. Spence, he says he deserves the larger split. I would do it 60-40 for obvious reasons. I definitely should get the bigger share. The proof is in the pudding who's the bigger draw. He's a great fighter, but I feel like 60-40 is the right price. And like I said, if you went to 80-20, I'd talk shit about it. Or that wouldn't be talking shit. I'd be critical. But he's for sure 60-40. That's just given. Like, it doesn't mean that Crawford's not going to win the fight, but this is the boxing business. So this is what Crawford said. And it's saying he said this to Fight Hype on this one. He said if that's the case, Crawford of the 60-40 fight is automatically a non-starter. That fight not going to happen because he's already talking that it's a 60-40 deal. If it ain't 60-40 in my favor, then the fight's not going to happen. I've accomplished way more than he did in his little career. I don't really care if that don't happen anymore and all that other shit, right? But I'm not the one. Oh, I'm not the one that is the reason why it didn't happen. I'm not the one. You guys say I need Spence. I don't need Spence. He needs me. This is out of, and he said this multiple times over the last few years that he's the A side. Now, I could see him taking a 50-50 fight. Maybe I'm ignorant with that, but I do think that some of this is talk to hold his ground to try to get 50-50. But the reason why, to back that up, the reason why Porter, he went and took a little less money to go over there. That's why that fight happened. Now, the WBO helped too because they did a 60-40 purse split rather than, 70-30 or some kind of 80-20 or some shit like that. So, you got to look at both sides on this, and he said this multiple times. Now, I don't know if he really believes that he's the A side because he's also, I've heard him, and this is what I'm saying, that I've heard him say, yeah, he sells more, but blah, 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 blah. I've heard him say it, whatever. But, and the reason why he's not as big as name is because he doesn't have the names. That's why, right? So now he's a free agent. But like I said, if, and that's a big IF, capital IF, if he were to say, I'm only doing that fight for 60-40, then you can't sit there and say Spence is ducking anybody. Because clearly Spence deserves 60-40 on this. He could be a dick and say 70-30 if he wanted to, but I don't think he's doing it. He's made 60-30 or 60-40 pretty. So that's you. But as far as the Eddie Hearn stuff, from the jump, since he reached the U.S. shores, as he said in this message, that he didn't care what platform anything is on. It's like, dude, haven't you ever heard the clip about the middleweight division? Like, dude, Eddie's the one who said that you have to be a DAZN fighter to get a fight with DAZN fights, and then it didn't work out. And he couldn't make enough intriguing middleweight fights, so that's what happened. Now he's looking potentially for other stuff. But this is what he said. This isn't his opening stuff. This is what he said.
But ultimately, if you want to fight Canelo, you have to be a DAZN fighter. If you want to fight Joshua, you have to be a DAZN fighter. And this Saturday, 3 days' time, Demetrius Andrade goes for the world middleweight title. And in 10 days' time, in this room, Danny Jacobs goes for the world middleweight title. So in 10 days' time, touch wood, DAZN have the entire roster of middleweight world champions. So people like Charlo, you've no fights for you. If you want to be a world middleweight champion, you better join DAZN ASAP.
There you go. If you want to fight any of those guys, you got to be a DAZN fighter. And hey, I get it. I'm not freaking out about that, but don't act like he came over here breaking bread and shit like that. Because we saw how low ball he did with Wilder too. Remember, started out at $5 million, then 7.5, then 10, then 12.5, then 15, then 17. All the while it could have been $40 million. And guess who knew they had that kind of budget while he was sitting there negotiating with Wilder? So you're going to offer 5 and 7.5 and 10, when at the end of the day the fight to DAZN anyway was worth $40 million to pay Wilder. You see what I'm saying? That, and he's a promoter, dude. This is his job. I'm not saying that, but he was lowballing the shit out of him, and he was the one bringing the money with DAZN over there. I mean, it wasn't his money, but he was the one that had the deal, so he had to have known what his budget was. You know what I mean? And he loves to talk about it now. Oh, you could have gotten this, you could have gotten that. Okay, well, why are you offering $5 million then? So, like, you got to stop taking sides, guys. Whether your favorite fighter is Anthony Joshua, whether it's, Golovkin, whether it's just no matter what, anti-PBC, whatever. But to sit here and say that bullshit, and like I said, press 1 if you're on right now. I'll let you have your side, but based off the message you sent to me, come on, dude. Like, I mean, there's fucking audio of it, dude. Like, it's pretty basic. Anyway, we are going to get to Portland. 503 Josue. Let's get out there and see how he's doing, and then we'll finish it up with some boxing Twitter because there's some fun tweets as well. All right, Portland. What's going on, man? 503.
Mexicanos al grito de guerra, el acero apretado y el rigor, y retiembla en sus centros la tierra al sonoro rugir del cañón.
Hey, yo, what up, Chris? Hey, yo, I'm doing good here in cold-ass Oregon, but I hope you're doing good. Chris, how's everything, brother?
Man, I'm doing good. Tell you what, dude, it's since warmed up, but for the first time of the year, we got down in the single digits, man. Supposed to literally jump up to like 30 and 40, but we got single digits already, dude.
Oh, jeez. Damn, bro. Damn, that sucks. We're not even that close yet, but I feel cold, man. You know me, I'm Latin, so I should be in the sun, but we're out here in the north, in this cold-ass weather, so, but we got to do what we got to do. So, but yeah, man, a lot of boxing this weekend, brother. Let's get into it. Let me start off with last week's fights. The most important fight, I thought, and the one that kind of mattered was Teofimo Lopez versus George Gambosus. If I could start off with this one. I know I missed last week's show, so I wanted to just recap real fast. I like this fight. There's one thing that caught my attention during the pre-fight press conference with Lopez and George. And, George, and when they were going back and forth, and Teofimo kept talking about the titles, and you don't have them. And I remember George Gambosus said he had mentioned that, oh, these are your curse, these are your curse, And I thought that spoke heavy to me when he said that, just because he, these belts, a lot of these belts, either they make you or they break you. It depends on what kind of, what you could do and how much. If you could keep those titles, and that's the most difficult part, And Lopez went in there. Obviously, he went for the kill in the first round, thanks to his dad, claiming that they're going to knock him out in the first round, which didn't happen. But George Gambosus boxed beautifully, stayed composed, and waited for that beautiful counter right hand that caught Lopez right there, almost close to the end of the round of the first. Gambosus, man, I really liked how he stayed focused in this fight. He didn't let emotions get to him. Obviously, Lopez was fighting with heavy emotion, trying to just spark him out and going for big power punches every round. And I think that's what cost him, really, man. He should have stayed focused and try to box and take your time with George Gambosus. I think, like everybody thought, I thought, just like me, I thought Teofimo was supposed to win this fight, smoothly, So, and for him to get upset like this is huge. And, it looks like Teofimo's moving up in weight now, so which is a good idea, in my opinion. It's just like, because he did look depleted. maybe it is time to move up in weight. And if I could somehow request a fight for him, man, I would love for him to fight Jose Ramirez in his next fight. Them being both with Top Rank, and Ramirez came off a loss against the number one at 140 pounds, Josh Taylor. I thought Teofimo coming off a loss. I think this fight, Honduras versus Mexico. I think this fight would sell big time. In my opinion, that's what I would like to see for Lopez in his next route, and I would believe he should stay at 140 next. He should campaign there, see what's up, see how it goes. I know that there's Josh Taylor, you know what I mean, and he's a monster, that guy. So, but he looks like he's maybe moving up in weight, but we'll see what comes up in their futures. But as far as George Gambosus, it looks like sky's the limit for this guy. I would tell him right now, fight in Australia, like a big hometown, welcome kind of fight, for like an A-side treatment. That's what I would want for him. But I know business is first, and it looks like there's some big names in the horizon. Let's get into this last weekend's fights. Jojo Diaz, Devin Haney. I was excited for this one. You already know Jojo Diaz. I back him up. He's Mexican. Devin Haney, he looks solid in this fight. I can only give really Jojo Diaz only 2 rounds in this one. Devin Haney boxed, good. I don't want to say he boxed like Floyd. I thought in my opinion, he boxed more like his style, like Devin Haney. Like in the Linares fight, I thought he tried to fight more like Floyd. But in this one, I felt like he actually tried to just beat Devin Haney in this one, and it worked for him. He did good. The only thing that I could complain is that he wasn't able to finish the show. He got a unanimous decision win, but I would have liked to see Devin kind of go for it and kind of, put some gloves on and make it, exciting for the fans. And, that was just would have been my take for Devin. But Devin looked good. He gets the win, and that's what matters. So he moves forward with his career. He still captures that WBC belt, and we'll see with what's up with him in the future, because maybe George Gambosus is next. But this on Sunday, man, if I could bring up the Sunday fight real fast, Davis Isaac Cruz, man. Bro, the anthem. Chris, I hope you had chills when you heard the Mexican national anthem there, bro, because we're representing it. Oh, dude, bro, what can I say, man? As long as you're a Mexican and you're gonna fight in a Mexican populated area, bro, they're gonna come out for you. They're gonna come in heavy, chanting Mexico and bringing the flag out for Mexicans, because obviously Isaac Cruz, it felt like he was the A side in this fight. Like, it felt like the crowd knew him. I felt like the crowd was there for him. Man, what can I say, man? But like, man, when the national anthem hit, you could tell, man, what fans are roaring. Isaac Cruz, I'm not disappointed. He definitely he lost the fight. I thought, to me, in my opinion, it was close to a draw, or maybe even a split decision win for Tank Davis. That's my opinion. To me, there's no failure in Cruz. Cruz didn't lose any. He might have lost the fight, but to me, he gained star power. He gained fans. Yeah. He gained way more love from boxing. More boxing media. Now we know who the hell this guy is, man. Because, bro, who the hell thought that this guy was gonna put pressure, from 1 round to 12, to the 12th round, and then have Davis fight off the back foot? I thought Davis was really gonna come in this fight, dangerous. I thought he was going to put pressure on, I thought someone was going to get knocked down in this fight. And Tank Davis was, boxing. And to me, if Isaac Cruz, a smaller fighter, was able to make Tank Davis, the power puncher box, that, to me, that is a win. He did not want to go toe-to-toe with Isaac Cruz. And obviously there was, he was countering, not countering, but he was blocking some beautiful shots from Davis, some really good uppercuts. To me, like I said, Cruz didn't lose this fight. He wins. He gets what are those moral wins? And because like, man, holy crap, man, he was there toe to toe. He wanted to stand toe to toe with Tank Davis, man. And holy crap, he was like Davis broke his left hand on his forehead. So man, it didn't look good for Davis in this fight, man. And but to me, Isaac Cruz gets all the credit. He gets bigger. I hope bigger things and the bigger opportunities are for him in the future. And I would love, man, for maybe even a surprise like Jojo Diaz versus Isaac Cruz or Devin Haney versus Isaac Cruz, something like that would be big, I think, in my opinion. But man, Isaac Cruz definitely delivered, in my opinion. He made the pay-per-view worth it. These last few months, man, they catch up to you. But man, I am a boxing junkie for this reason. But in all honesty, only for fights like this, I am not going to buy the Jake Paul versus Woodley rematch.
Right.
I'm not going to do that one, right? Because
me neither.
I think
me neither.
You know what I mean. I think the pay-per-view time is over for this year. You know what I mean. Let's start next year.
Sure. Yeah.
But you know what I mean. So, but yeah, man, Tank Davis moves forward. He got the win. I hope he stays at 135 pounds.
He is. He's already dropped his 140.
Oh, he is. Oh, okay.
He's staying at 135.
Okay, sweet, man. Because who knows with him, he might stay up. He might go up to 140. Him being with Mayweather. They're in their own route. You know what I mean. They're in their own lane. I don't see him, in all honesty, challenging a Devin Haney or a George Gambosus. Maybe George Gambosus. Maybe I could see George Gambosus, him, having no ties with Eddie Hearns. Just because I saw that interview with what's his name, Leonard Ellerbe. Threatening Eddie Hearns on site if he spots. And go ahead.
Yeah, him and Hearn have been going back at it this last year, back and forth a lot.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. In all honesty, I didn't know what was up with it. I thought he just brought that all of a sudden.
Hearn called the Haney Diaz fight a bigger fight than a bigger event than Jervante Cruz, which is come on, dude. It didn't even turn out to be a better fight in the ring. The Cruz and Jervante in the ring and in the arena was much bigger. So that's how it all started. Well, it started for a while, but that's how they went back and forth this time. Because he came on the mic and was like, "This is a bigger fight. This is a much bigger fight."
Yeah.
It's like, well, is it? Are you sure?
I get all the promoters, trying to big up their own fights, saying their event is a lot bigger. But I don't like that Ellerbe. I forgot his name, Ellerbe.
Yeah, got it.
Him threatening Eddie Hearns just because it kind of puts a block over that bridge. You know what I mean? It doesn't get closer to make this fight. Both promoters are not liking each other. It just seems to me again like the Cold War again all over again, in which I would hate for it to happen. Obviously, money makes sense. Ellerbe always keeps saying that money makes sense, and obviously this is a big money fight with Tank Davis and Devin Haney. That's a big fight to me, man. That's definitely pay-per-view worthy. But hopefully, promoters could get along in the future. I just don't like the, threatening other promoters. Oh, it's on site. I'll slap the hell out of them about it. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear that. Let the fighters fight or talk that way. Let promoters just big up their fights or whatever. But I don't know. To me, I hope that doesn't burn the bridge. You know what I mean? I just hope that they could still make this fight happen maybe next year, because that would be dope. But yeah, man, and
the money.
So
what he talks about his money is how much is Haney going to ask? He said he's not going to overpay him. That's all. That's what Leonard said. He said, well, he's already making $3 million a fight, so you'd assume if he's going to fight Tank, he's going to have to make more than that. But is Haney worth $5 or $6 million at this point when he can't sell tickets? I mean, it's a good it's a good debate. How much money am I going to have to pay him? I don't know. We'll see. I've always thought Ryan Garcia in Tank, because that's the biggest. I know a lot of people don't want to admit it, but that's the biggest money fight actually in the division right now. I've always thought they were going to fight first.
Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia. You know what? That was. I really liked that fight when it was talked about, but just knowing Ryan Garcia, his mental state, I don't think he wants any part of Tank Davis right now. That's just my honest opinion. He wants 3 fights next year. We'll see if it's real. We'll see how real that is. You know what I mean? That's, to me, it's almost like what's his name, Gary Russell talk. You know what I mean? Talking about fighting more than once a year, and then he has his annual fight. And so I don't know, man. We'll see with that. But I agree with you.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't put Garcia and
so?
Gary Russell 1 fight a year. Well, I mean, he's only had 1 year where he had 1 fight, and he did hurt himself this year.
Mm-hmm.
He signed to fight Diaz, and he had to have surgery on his hand. So I do believe that,
Okay.
But the fight,
fight
was all but done. But remember, the Manny Pacquiao sweepstakes came up,
yeah,
and that's why Ryan. Remember, and then the mental health thing. So I hear what you're saying, though. I hear what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. We'll see, man. To me, like I said, Ryan Garcia still has a lot to prove to me. He's a Mexican. I want to back him up, but as far as he just got this more of a superstar mentality, and I just don't like that. But we'll see. You know what I mean? The next year is definitely going to be lit.
All these guys have something to prove. Besides Loma and Teofimo, all of them have something to prove.
Oh yeah, and and especially this weekend for Loma, man. He's got Comey, so that's we'll see with that one, man. But then, dude, this has been a crazy. You know what I mean? This is such a hot division right now. Is lightweight. Holy crap! There's so many names, so many possibility of fights that could happen. It's insane right now with boxing right now, man. It's really cool, man, and it's a really good spot where boxing is right now, man, because they got. I mean, there's so much going on right now. This last quarter was insane. Like just so many fights, and they're still coming. So. You know what I mean? If this last quarter was all full of pay-per-views, man, I can only imagine the first quarter of next year. Like how insane is that going to be? Like, and but yeah, and we'll just have to wait and see about that. But yeah, man, as far as that, we got like I said, Loma is next this weekend. I believe Loma should be able to win this one. But we'll see. You know what I mean? There could be upsets. You know what I mean? As far as so many upsets that have happened, so no one's really sure what's going to happen now. But yeah, man. As far as that, don't have too much to say. Oh, before I get out of here too, man, I forgot. I want to wish. I know he's probably not going to hear it, but I want to wish Bob Arum a happy big 90th birthday to him today. That's huge. Legendary promoter out there. We all know him. If you know boxing, I don't have to talk too much about him. We know who he is. You know what I mean? So I just want to wish him a happy 90th birthday and wish him all the best. He says he's still not retiring. He's still continuing. So let's see what 2022 brings for Top Rank. But yeah, man. But as far as that, Chris, thank you for having me on. Viva Ropa Dope Radio and Viva Mexico, cabrones.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. 2022, we need some of these, more of these lightweight fights to, actually got to happen. But I actually got a little shtick last week for calling these fights quarterfinals. There's a bunch of quarterfinals. And it's really not that far off. I mean, Gambosus shocked everyone, knocked him off. Lopez. Lopez still in the mix, although I think he's going to go to 140. Isaac Cruz was a lot better than a lot of people thought. I didn't shit on the fight like it was a bad fight. I knew he was in the top 10. I had seen him dust off Magdanello. Why isn't that a quarterfinal fight? But as it turns out, it was a quarterfinal fight. Now, I don't think that they're going to one guy fight someone and then fight someone, then fight. There's going to be mandatories. There's going to be, defenses of belts, with a good fight but not a great fight. I don't expect them to all fight each other in a row for the next 3 years. You know what I mean? That's just not – unless it's like trilogies or something, that just doesn't happen. I mean, just based off mandatories, who's ever going to be undisputed is going to owe some mandatories. Right now, the mandatories are bomb, though. Like I mentioned earlier, the WBO is Lomachenko if he wins. The WBA should be Tank Davis. And then, the WBC is Devin Haney. I don't know who the IBF is now I think about it. But you know what I mean? That's those are good fights. So we'll see, man. But yeah, 2022, the lightweight division has a chance to really catch fire, man. Really catch fire. I mean, it's already on fire. We got to put some gasoline on that thing. Okay, so kind of funny you're talking about pay-per-views lined up, because if you're still listening, Portland, we got something that's kind of interesting potentially here. Now, Keith Thurman it sounds like January 29th. We know it was going to be in the first quarter. He was going to come back, right? And we knew, like, some people are like, why don't you just come back against Crawford, bro? What the fuck? You know, it's like, all right, I hear you, but, dude, he's been out of the ring for 2.5 years. Like, had surgeries. He's been getting back. Come on, dude. Like, why would you even why not let him get a fight and then fight Crawford? I think it's really funny because the second some of these people are going to be the same people that take away credit to Crawford because Thurman won't look his best then maybe. And I'm not saying just having one tune-up and he'd be back and it'd be the same old Thurman. We don't know. But that's the point. You know, why be out for over 2 years and then fight Crawford? Crawford's not going to get as much, credit for it, you know? I mean, Thurman fought Lopez, Josecito Lopez, right? And then fought Pacquiao. Anyway, on the Nevada Commission agenda, December 13th, the commission meeting there is TGB Promotions date request for January 29th at the MGM to be televised on pay-per-view, Fox pay-per-view. Keith Thurman will be in the main event. Now, there's a couple different names. There's Mario Barrios. There's other names that I've heard, too, getting thrown around. Abel Ramos, which is always a game dude. It is at that level, where it'd be a good fight for him to come back to, but also a major opportunity for somebody like an Abel Ramos. There was another name that's escaping me right now, but it was another just solid name or whatever. And there was a rumor that Barrios and Thurman, it's a rumor, may fight. And there's also a date held, because Jake, that was Dan Raphael. Jake Donovan said, in addition to that hold, January 29th at the MGM, he's told the event could also land in San Antonio, which Barrios, that's a good place for Barrios. So the PBC has the Texas Commission for that date on hold as well. The Zone also has a hold January 29th at the Cosmo with Liam Smith and Jesse Vargas. So, I don't know, dude. Keith Thurman, Abel Ramos, Keith Thurman, Barrios. To me, that's kind of an interesting fight, and it's like a perfect level for him to come back to. But we'll see. Obviously there's no 100%, on it. But I do know that there is some fights that are going to get announced at some point. Whether it's, I don't know if it'll be before Christmas. My hunch is that it'll be a little after Christmas. Maybe in the week between Christmas and New Year's. I don't really know for sure. But that is something to kind of pay attention to. Because we knew Keith was going to come back. And we'll see, what happens there. Anyway, just to kind of close this out, it's about to cut me off, so I think I'll shut it down. I've already done some boxing Twitter stuff anyway. So let's, someone actually, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Oh, God. Someone sent me this. This is a tweet. George Gambosus Jr. versus prime Floyd Mayweather Jr. at 135. Who takes this one? What about Gambosus versus a 135 version of Ray Robinson? Gambosus Jr. is on that level. Come on, dude. Are we really going to go there? All right, I'm out of here. Enjoy the fights. Peace out. Later.